What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, or welcome if it's your first time here. You know, I remember my mom telling me a story about something that took place when I was about 3 years old, maybe 4, and she was telling me that we were hungry and that there's no food in the house to eat. We had no money to buy no food with us, and the house was just a little one-room shack with no insulation in there or anything like that, no electricity, no running water. It's simply pretty much an outbuilding that we had converted into a place to sleep. And that was pretty much typical during my years growing up. But anyway, I digress. She said that we were hungry, had nothing to eat in the house, no money to go buy any food with, and there was a field that a farmer had been growing field corn in that field. You know, there's a difference between sweet corn that's grown for human consumption and field corn that's grown for animal consumption. And that field had been grown for, that corn in that field had been grown for animal consumption. And they had already went over that and picked through that, but there was still some, you know, lying on the ground. And she said she went over there to try to find some corn to cook to eat. And my mom was about 20 years old then, maybe 21. And she went over there and found enough corn to put in a pot to boil to try to get that soft enough to eat. She said she boiled that corn over an open fire for hours, and it never would get soft enough to eat. It was just too hard to consume. But that goes to show you, you know, that hunger can make you do all kinds of things to try to feed yourself and to feed your children. And you know, let's pretend that most of the things we're seeing right now aren't happening. Let's pretend that the war that's most likely going to break out here very shortly, World War III, is it going to happen? It doesn't happen. Let's assume that the commander-in-chief is legitimate. Let's assume that the commander-in-chief had his right mind. Let's assume that everything is fine, all besides this food inflation that we're seeing. And this article here from Natural News, I'll link to the article description box below. According to data released by the Department of Commerce on June 30th, the personal consumption expenditures price index showed food prices in May 2022 increased by 11% year over year. Food producers warned that the consequences of soaring fuel and fertilizer costs have yet to fully make their way into the food production supply chain. Usually, what we see on the farm, the consumer doesn't see for another 18 months, said John Chester, a farmer from Tennessee who grows wheat, soybeans, and corn. People don't realize what's fixing to hit them, warned Texas farmer Lynn Allen. They think it's tough now. You give it until October, food prices are going to double. So this farmer here is predicting that by October, food prices are going to double. The cost of fuel is up and fertilizer prices have tripled. So guys, if we just take that right there and food prices double, and let's not say by this October, let's say the food prices, it takes it till this time next year to double. Food prices double. Nothing else happens, no World War III, nothing like that, just food prices double. Even inflation on fuel stays the same where it is now. The fuel prices stay the same. The food prices double. How many people's going to be able to make it? Most people are just barely making it right now, or not even really making it. They're having to max their credit cards out, having to take loans out to try to buy food to stay alive, and they're hoping that they can hold on a little bit longer and that things will stabilize and things will be back to normal. However, that's simply not going to be the case. There's too many things going on. But like I said, let's pretend it's just the food prices to go up, and let's say it doubles. Not by October, like the farmer here is predicting in the article. Let's say it doubles by this time next year, and that is the best case scenario we can think of right now. And you know, even if that's all that happens, those food prices double by this time next year, there's going to be so many people going hungry because right now people are already maxed out. They're to the max of their spending right now, and most people, or a lot of people, are actually spending more than they actually make. They're having to sell things, they're having to pawn things, they're having to max credit cards out, having to dip into their savings. But let's say that, take bread for example. Right now, let's say you're paying $2 for a loaf of bread. This time next year, you're paying $4. Let's say that for a pack of hot dogs or something like that, right now you're paying $3. This time next year, it could be $6 if it doubles. And on and on and on. And like I said, most people right now are having trouble making ends meet as it is. And if nothing else happens besides food prices doubling, people's going to be starving. People's going to be hungry. People's going to be trying to be doing whatever to feed themselves. They're going to be homeless because they're going to have to take and decide to eat or have a home. And they may be living in cardboard boxes in their vehicles. Homelessness is going to go through the roof. Crime will go through the roof. Theft, because people are trying to make ends meet and trying to get enough money to actually go out and buy food. And that's assuming that the shelves, stay stockpiled. Like I say, we're pretending now that nothing else is going to happen besides food prices doubling. That's why it's extremely important, even at a best case scenario, it's still extremely important to prep. Because if you buy food, if you'd prepped 2 years ago, you'd be eating on food prices that were from 2 years ago. Like now, if you go and you stockpile food, say you can spend $500 to stockpile food, and you go out and you buy, rice, beans, flour, cornmeal, peanut butter, honey, canned food, salt, sugar, things like that, and you spend $500 and put that back. This time next year, or even before that, like October, for example, like the farmer said in the article, you spend $500 now, that same food that you buy now will cost you $1,000, say, a year from now. So you're saving money by going out and buying food in advance, because the prices are going to increase on food. That is a guarantee. How much still remains to be seen, but we're pretending now it's going to be double. I think it's going to be more than double, in my opinion. It's going to be before, a year from now. However, we're looking at a best case scenario in this video. So go out and buy everything you can right now, guys, at the price you can get it for now, because it's not going to be this cheap, which it's not cheap now. But it's going to get more and more expensive. And that's what prepping in the best case scenario is all about. You are buying now because the price is increasing in the future. Go out and buy what you normally buy, what you normally eat, stockpile that as much as possible at the prices you can get it for now. Granted, the prices aren't cheap now, and they keep going up. And we had, according to the official stats, overall 11% price increases on food, but more than that on meat. Meat has went up, 30 or 40% in those price increases since this time last year. But by this time next year, in my opinion, food is going to at least double if you can find that food. So many things are going on, guys. So many things are happening, but just this best case scenario isn't good. You take food prices doubling, that is going to be catastrophic to the economy. That's going to be catastrophic to the majority of people's financial budgets and well-being, and many people are going to be going hungry. And I'm sure that many of our parents is going to be going out into those cornfields and trying to find something to pig to eat, for example. And I use that as an example right now. But people are going to be going out trying to find anything, foraging or whatever. Fishing is going to increase. I think gardening is going to increase. And those things are actually good, because people should be providing more of their own food. But a lot of people can't. A lot of people are in urban areas. A lot of people can't go out and hunt. A lot of people can't grow a garden to supplement their food supply. Stockpile food, guys. I've been hungry in my lifetime. I remember being hungry. I remember being homeless. I remember living in shacks. I remember living in cars and tents. I remember feeling like my stomach was eating its own self when I was young. And it's not a good thing, guys. Prepare, stop pretending, start doing the things, and prepare as best you can with what you have. If you have any money extra now, don't spend that on a big screen TV. Don't spend it on crap that you can't eat. Buy food, buy seed, plant vegetables, buy gardening tools. Do what you can to be self-reliant, produce as much food as you possibly can. is you can, if you have the space, build a chicken coop. It don't have to be expensive. And get some chickens for eggs and meat. Do what you can, guys. Prep, pray. Going hungry isn't fun. I'm afraid a lot of people are going to be going hungry because still yet people refuse to prep. They go into the stores, and people see those shelves, still the groceries on those shelves, and they're thinking, it's going to be okay. It's just fear-mongering, you know. There's no need to prepare. We see this food here, but you fail to realize those slight price increases and that shrink inflation that we see all the time. People don't want to see it. They don't want to think about going hungry. They don't want to think about starvation, malnutrition. So they refuse to prep. And they come on these channels, people like me is telling people to go to the grocery store and buy extra food as much as you possibly can and put that back. And they say fear-mongering. That's just going to happen. My grocery store is full. These people fail to realize that it takes months before we see the price increases that the farmer is paying to produce his crop, you know, in diesel, gasoline, fertilizer, all the things he has to buy to produce that crop to get it to the consumer. We don't see that immediately. We see that months later. The farmer sees it immediately, but we don't see it till months later, till the harvest comes off. People fail to realize that. But guys, this video has been talking about, you know, a best case scenario, and it's going to be a lot worse than what this video is talking about, in my opinion. Things are going to get much, much worse, but let's just, like I say, just pretend food inflation. You should see the need to prepare just by looking at that, by seeing how the food prices are increasing. You know, people are complaining, but they're not stockpiling. And right now, a lot of people, you know, are already maxed out, and they can't stockpile, and they can't prep because they're maxed out. They have no money to prep with. They're spending everything they have on food right now, and it's going to get worse and worse. And if just food prices, like I said, double this time next year instead of October, like the article is forecasting, we're giving it a whole year. It's going to be devastating. Anyways, guys, if you enjoyed the video, found it useful, get a big thumbs up. It's always appreciated. Thanks for watching. I'm the Creekmore Mighty, and I'll see you all in the next video, hopefully.